The last round of the Champions League was so insane that I've decided it's good enough to talk about on this channel. Also, yes, I do have a cold. To begin the quarterfinals, we started with two heavyweight fixtures on the same day, Arsenal vs Bayern and Man City vs Real Madrid. We'll focus on the first matchup, however. Arsenal returned to the Champions League for the first time since 2016. They had a couple hiccups, but still managed to win a group I like to call the Europa League Embassy. Then Arsenal, for the first time since 2012, made it past the last 16 in the most unconvincing way imaginable versus Porto. Either way, they had finally overcome their demons. Only to face more demons. Wait, no! The demons in question were their opponents, Bayern Munich. Bayern throughout the 2010s pretty much had parental custody of Arsenal, and no moment summed that up more than the 10-2 on aggregate win that would become Arsenal's last moments in the Champions League for over 7 years. Nowadays though, Bayern doesn't look like the threatening machine every team once feared. I mean, ISIS were literally making threats before the game and they weren't even the biggest terrorists. And even the Bundesliga doesn't seem to be scared of Bayern anymore. As a matter of fact, not even FC Saarbrücken. And after blowing a 2-0 lead and losing to a newly promoted Heidenheim, everyone felt like it was Arsenal who were the favorites going into this. And it sure looked that way as Arsenal looked in control and scored in the first 11 minutes through the sauce boy. But what you mustn't forget is that experience is a highly valuable commodity in the Champions League knockouts. And not even 6 minutes later, Arsenal lose their composure in the back and former Arsenal player Serge Gnabry scores. And also what you mustn't forget is that this Bayern team had Arsenal's ultimate kryptonite, Harry Kane. And just like that, it's 2-1 in the 31st minute. However, Arsenal had something Bayern's Hollywood drama-filled squad didn't. The power of friendship, as Leandro Trossard equalizes in the 75th minute. Now with time running out, Bayern nearly scored the winner, but Coman's attempt hits the post. But then, just 30 seconds left, Saka is free of the defenders and has just the keeper to beat. Saka! What's the penalty? What do you mean? What the f*** do you mean, referee? Oh, while this was happening, another equally insane match. In the last 2 years, the victor between Man City and Real Madrid has gone on to win the Champions League. In 2021-22, it was Real Madrid after City blew a 2-goal aggregate lead in a matter of seconds. Then in 2022-23, it was Man City who destroyed Real in vengeance. 2023-24 would be the third straight season these two face each other, and it began with Bernardo Silva scoring in the second minute after catching the keeper daydreaming. 9 minutes later, however, Man City is dealt a mean deflection and it's level in the fully packed Bernabeu now. 13 minutes played, scenes of 2021-22 as Vinny Jr. finds himself in behind the Man City backline and another deflection sabotages City. Now into halftime, the football gods decided this was not chaotic enough. So they moved the finishing sliders up to 99. 65th minute, Phil Foden fires a rocket into the top corner, 2-all. 5 minutes later, Josko Gvardiol, a defender, whips out a firecracker of his own, advantage City. Real wouldn't go quietly, however, and Federico Valverde equalizes with an absolute screamer. The game ends 3-all, and now we're all wondering, why the hell did UEFA put both of these games on the same day? Like, come on, could we have not seen Atleti vs Dortmund on a different day? It wasn't a bad match. Atleti scored 2 early goals and then Dortmund brought one back to stay in the tie. But come on, no match is coming close to the absolute limbs of Arsenal, Bayern, and City Real. It turns out we were very wrong about that. Barcelona vs PSG happened the very next day, a matchup that the Champions League has seen go so many different ways. But no moment is more iconic than La Remontada, Barcelona's comeback against PSG, and PSG's infamous 4-0 blown lead. The last time these two teams faced, however, it was PSG who got the better hand after Mbappe single-handedly ended the poverty franchise. That was 3 years ago, though. 3 years ago, wow. Barcelona, now with a new look and semi-competent manager, wanted revenge, while PSG knew this was their last chance at greatness for a while after learning Mbappe would be leaving at the end of the season. Both teams had their chances to begin, but it would be Barcelona to draw first blood in Paris in the 30th minute. However, at the beginning of the second half, Ousmane Dembele with a thunderous strike scores against his former club, but more importantly, equalizes for PSG. Not even 3 minutes later, Vitinha puts another past the keeper and PSG has turned it around. Barcelona weren't letting 2021 repeat itself, however, as Pedri floats a dime to Rafinha, who volleys it beautifully into the back of the net. As Ray Hudson said on commentary, cleaner than Neutrogena! And it's now 2-all. Then with 15 minutes remaining, Andreas Christensen heads it into the net, and Barcelona win a thriller at the park. We didn't have to wait long for the second leg. In fact, we only had to wait 6 days. Barcelona going into this leg entered confidently, and who could blame them? They had just locked down Mbappe for a whole 90 minutes, and showed that no one else could step up for PSG. And within the first 15 minutes, Barcelona looked to run away with this, as Rafinha grabbed another goal goal in the tie to make it 4-2 on aggregate. But then everything changed when defender Ronald Araujo got sent off for this dumbass challenge. I swear, defenders need to take notes from the NBA, because in a situation like this, it's 20 minutes in. Don't touch them. Sure, you might concede, but I'd say that's probably better than being a man down for the next 70 minutes, especially since that's Barcelona's best defender. Anyways, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. PSG fans relish in this moment. Play the music. Now down to 10 men, Barcelona were pounced upon by PSG like a predator to its prey, and they let the man who they gave a diet of chocolate and pizza score against them. Then the 53rd minute, Barca treat Vitinha like he's the taxman, stay as far away from him as possible, and get punished. It's now 4-all on aggregate. 5 minutes later, Barcelona continue to collapse and concede a penalty this time. He's going nowhere! Why are you even attempting that? And Mbappe scores. 5-4 PSG now. Then in the 88th minute, Barcelona's children in the back piss themselves, forget how to clear a ball, and Mbappe puts the dagger in this one. PSG move on to the semis 6-4 on aggregate, while Xavi complained to the refs. What do you mean it's too much to flash a red card in this game? He was the last defender! Of course, we also had Dortmund vs Atleti unfold at the same time, and in just 4 minutes, we witnessed vintage Alvaro Morata. After that, however, Dortmund began their offensive, and finally were rewarded as Julian Brandt squeezed one past the keeper in the 33rd minute. It was now 2-all on aggregate. 5 minutes later, the yellow wall erupts as Ian Maatsen gives BVB the advantage on aggregate. However, Atleti would respond at the beginning of the second half, and with a little fortune, it's all tied at 3-all. And here come Atleti again in the 56th minute, but it appears Alvaroitis is contagious. However, after missing horribly before, Angel Correa would not let it happen again as he just shoves it into Dortmund's net, and Atleti are back in the lead 4-3 on aggregate. 70 minutes later, however, Dortmund equalize, and it's none other than Germany's last hope up front, Niklas Füllkrug. It's now 4-all on aggregate. Wiz Khalifa FC weren't satisfied though, because just 3 minutes later, Marcel Sabitzer slots home the winner, and Borussia Dortmund overcome the odds to win 5-4 on aggregate. So let's see, we're done with 2 ties, one ended 6-4 and the other 5-4. And we still have the heavyweight battles. I would say though, the second leg of Arsenal vs Bayern wasn't really that exciting, and it really could be summed up very easily. Arsenal have ball, Arsenal don't do anything with ball. Bayern have ball in transition, Arsenal are frazzled. Oh, and also the fog is coming. Anyways, after the Gunners decided to sleep in the box, Germany's national brat Joshua Kimmich has a free header, and Bayern win 3-2 on aggregate. Now, let me take this moment to sidetrack a bit. I watched this game at a bar in New York, and this was the first time I'd ever been to a bar dedicated to a specific team. And I'll be honest, I don't think this shit's for me, man. Like, I get it, you want to create an atmosphere that's similar to that of being at a stadium, and I'd say they do a good job at that, but I don't know, man, it's just not for me. Also, 2 other things from my personal experience. There was one person who kept screaming for Arsenal to move forward, even though in a specific scenario, they would have probably lost the ball and Bayern would have had like an easy counter. That guy was really annoying. There was one person too that sung and chanted. No problem with that. Don't have a problem with that. It was up until the moment he started chanting, Arsenal reject! Arsenal reject! And he's like right behind me, by the way. This was the moment I wanted to throw myself at the TV. Again, people just have fun in their own ways. This just isn't for me. Anyways, on to our last game. The second leg of City vs Madrid in Manchester. 12 minutes in, Real Madrid silenced the Etihad with a goal from Rodrigo. Now 4-3 down on aggregate, Pep's men awoke from their slumber and began to attack in droves. They had a few great opportunities in the first half and got even closer in the second half. Then finally in the 75th minute, Kevin De Bruyne takes advantage of the keeper's spill and City make it 4-all on aggregate. 2 minutes later, De Bruyne has an effort from way out and just misses. The Belgian with the bird's eye view had an even better chance in the 80th minute but couldn't keep the shot down. Then into extra time, Madrid nearly scored through defender Antonio Rudiger. Nothing besides an end-to-end scrap followed and we would go on to penalties. Now before we start talking about the shootout, it should be mentioned that Pep actually subbed off both Haaland and De Bruyne. And another thing that should be mentioned is that in the past, City hasn't been really that great at penalties. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that they were having a bit of a penalty-taking crisis because no one could consistently convert. But you know what? It's been like 3-4 years. I'm sure things have gotten better since. Anyways, the shootout begins with City's Julian Alvarez, and he converts. As you would expect, he's literally done this at the World Cup. Next comes Luka Modric. Maybe it was a good idea to sub him off against Japan. Now, Bernardo Silva has the chance to give City the advantage. Oh wow, that was bad. Jude Bellingham next, he calmly slots it home, and the two teams are now level. But not for long, as it appears the air has affected only Croatian players. Vasquez then takes advantage of the opportunity and puts Real up 1. Next up is Phil Foden, and he easily puts it in to keep his team alive. Real's Nacho Fernandez up next, and he converts. Manchester's very own Crackhead shows off some big dick energy, but it's not enough, as Antonio Rudiger tucks City into bed as Real Madrid move on to the semis. So after all that, the Champions League semi-finals are all set. Firstly, we have PSG vs Borussia Dortmund. They have played before many times, the round of 16, I believe 2019-20, and then also this year they were in the same group together. And then there's Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, also another matchup that has happened countless times. Me personally, very rare occasion where I actually predict Champions League for once. Me personally, I think this is pretty easy to predict. I think it's going to be PSG versus Real Madrid in the final.
A few moments later.
But what do you guys think? What are your predictions for who will be in the final of the Champions League? Let me know. But of course, a massive shout out to all our patrons, including Joshua Moazami, Janos Balash, Brazilian Fury, Miliway009, A Wise Orange, Adazir Makalancom, Alex Rod, Ulta, Naya20, Araisan, Billy Jack, Hysteria, Miguel Munoz, Pluvio, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Sladikit, Snifferx, Taco Okafan, Tana Permilia Celine Khan, The Cypriot 35, Tomicus, Victor, Aqua 77777, Chris Visconti, Dominic Griffin, Joe Paricio, Kentra Agatra, Kyler Krebs, Lucian Von Croix, Mohammed Al-Tanib, Niche, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, Rowan Cookie, Sylvia Citrus, subscribe to Tendatim, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to join the Patreon, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like. Ignore the TikTok, honestly. You could also follow my Twitch, which I think I'm going to be doing a live stream watch along for at least one of the Champions League semifinal games. I also plan to do something before where there's like a whole like challenge where people have been naming like 100 women in a certain amount of time. That looked fun, so I'm going to do that. But anyways, until then, I'll see you guys.